All right, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle one of the biggest questions out there right now. Is all this incredible AI we're using making us smarter, or is it actually making our brains a little bit lazy? Let's figure it out.
So let's start with a big, kind of philosophical question. For years, thinkers have talked about this thing called the extended mind hypothesis. The basic idea is that your mind isn't just what's inside your head. I mean, think about your smartphone, right? When you use it to look up directions or remember a birthday, that phone is basically acting as a part of your memory. It's an extension of your mind. And with AI, that extension is about to become unbelievably powerful.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to look at how AI can be like a supercharger for our brains. Then, we'll get into the trade-offs, the downsides of letting our devices do the thinking. After that, we'll explore a much cooler idea of AI as a creative partner. And finally, we'll talk about how we can actually wield this incredibly powerful new tool. Okay, let's kick things off with the really exciting stuff, the promise of AI. How is it already boosting human intelligence out there in the real world, everywhere from big business to groundbreaking science? You know, for decades, businesses have basically just been looking in the rearview mirror, using data to see what already happened. Well, AI is completely flipping that around. It can sift through just massive, unbelievable amounts of information, everything from sales numbers to the way a customer sounds in an email, and it helps companies get ahead of the curve. So instead of just flagging fraud after you've lost the money, it spots weird patterns to prevent it from even happening. It's not just about recommending a product, it's about understanding what a customer really needs before they even know it themselves. And that exact same power is totally changing the game in science. Let's take material science. Finding a new material for, say, a better electric car battery used to be this incredibly slow, painful process of just mixing things and seeing what happened. As this quote from Microsoft Research says, it was a total needle in a haystack problem.
Okay, now this is where it gets really wild. This chart shows a huge shift. The old way was just screening giant databases of materials we already knew about. But this new AI, called MatterGen, doesn't just search, it creates. It's a generative AI. It learns the basic laws of physics and chemistry and then designs brand new materials that have never existed before, based on the properties scientists are looking for. And as you can see, when looking for these super hard materials, the AI just blows the old method out of the water. Why? Because it's not just looking for the needle in the haystack, it's literally designing and creating better needles.
But all that power has a potential cost. AI is definitely a double-edged sword. So for every amazing boost it gives us, there might be a risk. Let's look at the other side of this, the hidden costs of outsourcing our brain power.
The big idea here is something called cognitive offloading. And honestly, it's something we all do all the time. Every time you make a shopping list, or pull out your phone's calculator, or just follow your GPS, you are offloading a mental task to a tool. Now that frees up brain space, which sounds great, right? But what does that do to us in the long run?
Well, a really interesting study published in PubMed gets right to the heart of it. The researchers found a super clear trade-off. Using these external tools definitely boosts how well we do something in the moment, but it can actually weaken our long-term memory of that information.
And this slide just lays out the experiment perfectly. People were given a task to copy a pattern. The group that was told to offload, to just keep checking the original pattern whenever they wanted, they finished way faster. But the other group, the one that had to rely more on their own memory, well, they were slower, but they remembered the patterns much, much better later on. So it seems like we get efficiency right now, but we pay for it with knowledge later.
And hey, it's not just about simple memory. A recent study of more than 600 people found a strong negative link between how often someone uses AI and their critical thinking skills. Basically, the more they turned to AI for answers, the worse they did on tests of critical thought. This was especially true for younger folks, between 17 and 25, although the study did find that having a higher education seemed to offer some sort of protection against this effect.
So is that it? Are we just stuck with this choice between being super efficient, but maybe less capable, or just struggling on our own? Well, not necessarily. What if there's a third way? What if the real future is a true partnership between our minds and these machines?
First off, we've got to be realistic about what AI can't do, at least right now. This quote from a paper in Nature says it all. AI is amazing at finding patterns and stuff we already know, but it can't have a real eureka moment, you know? It can't look at a weird result in an experiment, one that breaks all the rules, and realize, wait a minute, this is something totally new. That little spark of true original insight is, for now, a human thing.
So, What happens if we stop thinking about this as human versus machine and start thinking human plus machine? What if we could take all the deep theory-based knowledge that humanity has built up over centuries and combine it with AI's insane ability to find patterns in brand new data?
This is exactly what a new research framework is trying to do. It's a team approach. So first, an AI looks at some raw data and comes up with some initial ideas, some hypotheses. But then, and this is the really cool part, it refines those ideas by reading and integrating insights from a huge library of human scientific research. It's a real collaboration, creating ideas that are based on fresh data, but also informed by all of our existing human wisdom.
So the big question is, does this team-up actually work? Oh yeah, it absolutely does. In an experiment, people were given a really tricky task, trying to tell the difference between text written by a human and text written by AI. On their own, they were okay, but when they were given the hypotheses generated by this synergistic system, their accuracy shot up by over 14%. That is a huge deal. It proves that when we combine our strengths, the result isn't just better, it's something entirely new.
Okay, so this brings it all together. We've seen how AI can be a supercharger, and we've seen the risk that it could become a crutch. So how do we actually wield this double-edged sword the right way?
When it comes right down to it, it's this simple. AI is a tool, and its effect on us isn't baked in. A hammer can build a house, or it can smash a window. The outcome depends entirely on the intention of the person holding it, and it's the exact same thing with AI.
So the big takeaway here is that we have to be intentional. We have to be smart about how we use this smart technology. Sure, there are going to be times when you offload a boring task to an AI just to get it done faster. But there also have to be times when we deliberately choose to engage our own brains, to really wrestle with the problem ourselves, so that we can build that deep knowledge, strengthen our memory, and sharpen our critical thinking. The real path forward is finding that balance.
And that leaves us with one last question to really think about. A question that's only going to get more important from here on out. In a world where any answer is always just a click away, what is it actually going to mean to think for yourself?